Hi, I'm Mark here from Penguin Digital and welcome to my new course, Laravel First Project. Now this course is aimed at beginners to Laravel and we're going to be building up our first application step by step. And I'm going to be going right from the beginning. So Laravel can be quite overwhelming at first, there's a lot to it. But you could actually build your entire Laravel application in a single file. And that's how we're going to start. We're going to start building out in a single file so you can get comfortable with some of Laravel's core concepts. And then I'm going to build it out, introducing different parts of Laravel to you step by step. And then moving forwards, it's up to you how many of these different parts of Laravel you want to use. You don't have to use any of them. You could use all of them. So the first thing you need to think about is your local development environment. So as a minimum, these are some of the things you're going to need. You're going to need PHP version 8.1 or higher, and this is based on Laravel 10. So Laravel 10 needs at least PHP 8.1. I'm going to be using PHP 8.1 in this. You also need Composer installed. You also need a database. Now, you don't need a database for every application. You can build a Laravel application without a database, but the majority of the time you are going to want somewhere to store data. So Laravel supports a multitude of databases out the box, and I have a list here on the screen. There's MariaDB, MySQL, Postgres, SQLite, and Microsoft's SQL Server. You're also going to need something to edit your code in. Through this series, I'm going to be using PHP Storm, but there's others available, and you can use any you want, even if they're not on this list. I would recommend either VS Code or NetBeans. They're both free if you don't have the money to buy PHP Storm. Okay, the first thing we need to do is set up a Laravel application. So we need to install it. So I'm just going to head over to the Laravel website and look at the documentation. Now this is something I'm going to be doing all the way through the course. It's opening up the documentation and showing you and teaching you how to read the documentation. So the documentation is very important when you're building an application. Everything you're going to need to know is in there. And I'm going to show you how to find it, how to read it, and then how to implement it in your project. Now, this really is a key skill that a lot of teachers leave out, but it's very important, so I'm going to be using it quite a lot. So let's jump into the documentation. So over on the Laravel website, you can come over to documentation, and the first thing you need to note is the version drop down in the top right. Let me just zoom in here, and you can see up here that you have a version. Now, these are the different versions of Laravel. I'm going to be using version 10, but at the time of this recording, version 10 had not been officially released yet. So I'm going to click on Master. But by the time you come to watch this video, version 10 will probably be released and it'll already be there and it'll probably default to that. So but just be aware that if you're working with an older version of Laravel for any reason, then click that drop down and then that'll change the documentation over. So the first page we're going to be looking at is the Getting Started installation page. So down the left here, we have an accordion of the different groups of documentation. So we've got the architecture concept, for example, and then the basics. So go into Getting Started and then click on Installation. I'm just going to zoom in on this page so it's easier for you to read and follow along. And then we're going to click on Your First Laravel Project. Now there's two main ways to get a new Laravel project up and running. And the first one is with the Composer Create command. And then there's a second one using the Laravel CLI tool. So I've got the Laravel CLI tool installed, so I'm going to be using that, which is this part here. But you can use the Composer Create project if you don't want to install the Laravel CLI tool. That's absolutely fine. It'll work in exactly the same way. So whichever method you pick, you're still going to be able to follow along with this video. So I'm now going to create this first project. So I'm going to call the Laravel CLI tool. And again, if you want to use Composer Create project, feel free to do that. So I'm going to type Laravel new and then the name of my project. So I'm going to say first project. As mentioned, because I'm recording this pre-version 10 release, I have to have the dev flag on to get version 10. But you would normally not need to do this. So I'm going to do --dev. But just remember, if version 10's out by the time you watch this video, which it likely will be, you don't need to put that dev on the end. You can just do Laravel new and then your project name. So I'm just going to do the dev on the end here and then hit enter, and then this will install everything you need for your Laravel project. So now that will install everything you need for your Laravel project. So in the next video, we're going to open this project up and then dive into some of the basics of routing and also have a quick scan over the folder structure so you can get comfortable where things are. Now don't forget to like this video, that'll help me a lot. Also hit subscribe and a notification bell so you're going to get notifications when the next video in this series comes out.